And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Welcome back, and once again, thank you for trusting me with your full spoiler movie reviews. That thing I do where I watch movies and then I tell you all about them. As always, I am unpaid and unsponsored. And spoilers, all the spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, go ahead and scroll. I won't be offended. Once more time, spoilers. Alright, let's go. Alright, so we have the directorial debut of Ishana Night Shyamalan, the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. You know, the guy that wrote the movie with the plants that produce like a chemical that make you want to yeet yourself, but also made like The Sixth Sense. Yeah, that guy. Candy, I don't know about this. Listen, you are not your parent, just like she is not her parent, so give her a chance. Now, before we get started, I'm going to tell you this really isn't a horror. I know marketing shows it as a horror, and if you don't watch horror, it's probably pretty scary to you, but like if you're a horror regular like me, it's not. It's more like dark fantasy, I guess. Think cryptid. So let's get into it. Okay, there's this girl in Ireland named Mina. She works at a pet store, and then one day her boss asked her to like drive this pretty yellow bird up to the zoo in Belfast. And while she's on her way, she ends up driving into the woods, and then her car breaks down and the Google map stops working. And so like she gets out of the car with the bird going to look for help, and she's an old lady in the woods taking off running, so she tries to chase the old lady. And then they get to this building, and the old lady opens it and tells her she's got like 5 seconds to get in there if she wants to live. Come with me if you want to live. So she gets in there with the bird. So it's the old lady, her, the bird, a guy, and a girl. And it's like one big room with no bathroom and no kitchen. But they have a fatback TV and a DVD with like, it's like Love Island or some shit. And some very basic furniture. And then like the back wall is nothing but a two-way mirror. Like on their side, it's a mirror, but you can see from the outside in. And that's where these things in the woods called the Watchers watch you. Hence the name. And every night you have to be in the building, locked inside. You can't let anybody in. You can't go out. You can't like turn your back to the mirror, which is weird because it's nighttime and you sleep. So I don't understand why you can't turn your back to the mirror, but you can still sleep, but whatever. And that's what you do at night. Now during the day, they go outside, they hunt, because, you know, they don't have a fucking kitchen. They walk through the woods trying to find, you know, some sort of escape, but there are like these parameters, and if you go past the parameter, you're pretty much automatically dead. Like the woods, I guess, eats you or some shit. And then there's like these big holes in the ground that are like burrows, and that's where the Watchers live, and you're not allowed to go in there either, otherwise you're gonna get yeeted by a Watcher. Well, Mina's like, okay, and does the exact fucking opposite of that and climbs into the burrows. It finds out there's a whole bunch of people shit down there, like toys and a video camera and a bicycle. And while she's down there, she sees the hands of one of the cryptids. But she manages to make it out in time, and then like the guy who is like in the building with her was there, and they managed to lift out the bicycle and a video camera. Because they have to be either out of the woods or back in the building by sundown. And she figured if you can't get there on foot, you take the bike and you haul ass to get out. And that was going to be the plan for the next day. Well, the other thing being is that none of them have ever actually seen one of the Watchers, so they don't know what the hell they're up against. Well, the guy manages to jerry-rig the wiring from the video camera to the fatback TV, and we're talking like a 50s style fatback TV. Well, maybe 70s, but anyway. And then they place the video camera at the door on the outside, so when the Watcher comes up to the door to like bang on it, they can see what the fuck they're fighting. So night comes and the plan goes as place, they can see. And then when the Watcher shows up, they see human legs. And then they start hearing a voice, and it sounds like the other lady's husband. And she's like convinced that it's actually her husband out there who's been missing for weeks. And the older lady's like, no, that's not him. You know, ask him questions that he knows. And it come to find out, no, that's a fucking Watcher who's taken his form. And the Watcher was super pissed off that not only did she go in the burrows and steal their shit, but they could also see him. So that was the whole thing, and then it cracked the glass. And the old lady found out that they stole that shit. Well, then the next day, she puts it back in the fucking hole. She's like, no, we'll find another way. So then the next night comes, and the Watchers are super duper pissed, and they start trying to rip the building apart. Well, they decide to move the dining room table from the middle of the floor against the door to see, you know, if it can, like, stop them a little bit. And then the rug underneath moves, and it turns out there's a fucking door underneath this rug the whole time. How long have you guys been under there and you never moved any furniture? I mean, like, sure, it's not on my list of shit to do, but I'm sure somebody, wanted to move something or another at some point. Moving on, they found, like, this trap door or a secret door under the rug. And they're like, let's go in the trap door. And then I'm wondering, the Watchers live in holes in the ground, and then this is a door to a hole in the ground. What if it's all connected? But I guess it doesn't matter because the fucking Watchers are completely demolishing this building. Either way, they would have been yeeted. But no, it turns out there's a whole fucking secret room full of shit down here, including like computers, TV, radio, a bed, and food, like supplies. And so Mina starts getting on this fucking computer that was literally from 1992, because when she booted it, it said 1992, that apparently had access to internet, because she tried to click on it, but it also said no internet. But it makes me wonder if at one point it had internet, which all they had was dial-up in 1992, and I'm trying to figure out who the hell ran dial-up into the woods in the middle of Ireland. But also whatever. There was a professor from a university that liked studying folk tales and shit, and there was this whole mythology that fairies and people used to live together, and it was really cool until the people were afraid of the fairies, and then they put the fairies in a hole in the ground and sealed them up. And it's been like hundreds of years, so over time they've lost their wings, they've lost their magic, and they're fucking angry. And so the Watchers, these big scary things that come out of the ground and fucking yeet you, are fairies. And somehow fairies have like skinwalker powers, where if they kill you, they can wear your skin, they can mimic your voice, and want to be you. And that's the big thing now. And that apparently if they can get to the river, there's a boat, and the boat is going to take them fucking out. So the next day, that's what they do. They travel all the way through the woods. They get to the river. They get in the boat. The boy, unfortunately, sees one of the fairies that's taken on another person's body. He goes to him. He gets yeeted. And the fairies can't leave the forest. So they stay behind. Well, the girls get back, and then Mina has to go to the office of the professor guy. Because in the directions, he says, if you make it out, please go to my office and destroy all the shit. So it turns out that the professor built the big building and the bunker underneath so that he can study fairies, because the fairies have the powers to bring people back from the dead or to have everlasting life, and that's what he wanted. So that's why he was in these freaky woods with his big building. And he was even sacrificing people to them so that he could see how they work. And then he like captured one, and then he tried to kill one. And then Mina finds pictures of the old lady with the professor, and it turns out that the old lady was the professor's wife. Except it wasn't, because she died in 2001. And somehow one of the fairies became her. And so she goes to tell the other girl that escaped with them. And while she's having the conversation, it turns out that the girl she's talking to is not, in fact, the one that escaped with her. It was the old lady fairy. And she's all upset because she's like, I was an outsider. I could go out during the day, and they didn't like me for it because the other fairies couldn't go out in the day. And Mina was like, yeah, because you're a halfling. You're part human. Because once upon a time, when humans and fairies lived together, they had sex and procreated. So halflings exist. And she told her, go find your people. Go see if you can find anybody else. And that's what the old lady did. She gained her wings. She turned into a fairy and flew away. But she also kind of follows Mina every now and again, just watching her. The end. Now, did I like it? Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. The story was really neat. The monsters were okay. It looked very, like original cryptid drawing just to me. The acting goes back and forth, and that was kind of rough. And I felt sound-wise like there needs to be a lot of cleanup. But for a first-timer, it wasn't bad. I do have a couple of questions, though. Number one, if the forest is magic, how did the doctor get the construction crew out there to build said thing? How did they go back and forth to get the materials for everything that goes inside? Obviously, you're not going to be able to get all of that in one truck because he had, like, computers on computers on computers, and then you had to get all the construction materials. Like, that's a lot of fucking cement. Somebody had to bring in the plate glass mirror. And then when they're, like, trapped outside while the cryptids are there, okay, you can't breathe, you can't talk. You're worried about them catching your scent, but then you haul ass all the way to the building and start screaming bloody murder. Wouldn't they hear that? Oh wait, I think that was why they were ripping the building apart. 6.5 out of 10. I think that's fair. 6.5 out of 10. Okay, bye. Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods?